Hey YouTubers, it's Valerie with Money Mindset Coach, and today I want to talk about, how we hear that term, one thing leads to another. I have had two different things that have happened that have led to something else that ended up being really cool. And some of the things that I've brought back into my life have been things that were there a very long time ago, but I kind of forgot about. And there was a discovery. It's always fun when there's a discovery. And I had that. And it was in the most unexpected way. So, basically, part of this video is to give a tribute to my sister-in-law who passed away on this past Saturday. Today is June 25th. She died June 21st. And she had been sick all this year. She had lost a lot of weight. She just had one thing after another happen. And she was 70 years old. And the neat thing is that she was an author. And this right here is her first book called Child of Promise. When she and my brother got married, probably maybe a year into the marriage, they realized that they wanted to have children and it wasn't happening. And they tried for 10 years to have a baby of their own, naturally. But we all know that there are other ways to have children. And I have known 3 couples personally, my brother and sister-in-law included, that have not been able to have children on their own, and that they have adopted through various ways. 2 of the couples that I know adopted through becoming foster parents. And then they ended up adopting the foster children that they had. So that's one way to do it. My sister-in-law and my brother adopted 3 children that were African American. And, they are the light of their lives. And there's many ways to become parents, there's many ways. And that wasn't the first thing about adoption that I had ever experienced. My mother's sister and his wife, my Aunt Barb, my Uncle Bill, they couldn't have children of their own either. And they adopted 2 children too. Now, they went through an adoption agency, and they were on a list for 8 years before they adopted their first child. So it takes a long time. And to tell you the truth, I had 3 kids. I would have loved to have adopted 1 child. To me, if every family who has their own children, what if every family adopted a child? There wouldn't be near the number of children that need to be adopted. I remember the orphanages in Romania, and how there were so many children in that orphanage that had never been held, that had never been touched, that had never really truly been loved. I wanted to go over there and adopt one of them. Over in China, For the longest time, they had the one child. God, I'm trying to think of the name. The word, but policy, where you could only have one child. Well, then they changed it to two. But even in China, the boys are the most favored children. There were girls that would be dropped off at orphanages in China. I wanted to go over there and adopt one of them. I truly did. And so anyway, my brother and sister-in-law adopted 3 children. And this is her book on talking about their journey and how they came to that realization and how they did it. And she was an advocate for adoption. She spoke about it a lot, and I think she really helped. But she passed away on the 21st of June after quite a long illness, and she was 70 years old. And so I wanted to talk about her, but the really cool thing is I had not picked up this book. She wrote this book back in, it has a copyright of 2008. So it's quite a while ago. After she passed away, I had not read this book for a long time. I'm actually in this book. It's the only book that I'm in. But I'm in this book. And I started reading it. And she talked about when she got out of high school, she didn't know what she wanted to do. And there was a song by Dallas Holm, which if you are a Christian and have listened to Christian music going back, 40 some years, some of you may have heard of Dallas Holm. He wrote the song Rise Again, which is very popular at Easter. But he was one of the albums that I had when I was a teenager. And so in Debbie's book, my sister-in-law's name was Debbie, she quotes one of his songs. And I'm sitting there reading this book on my deck, which I read on my deck every morning. And I read this and I thought, oh gosh, I haven't thought of Dallas Holm for the longest time. So I got my phone and I brought up some of his music and I started listening to it again. And I thought, how cool is that? And so I remembered this from years ago, because this year it'll be 40 years ago that I got married. I was listening to Dallas Holm before I ever got married. So we're talking a long time. So anyway, I started listening to the music, and of course you go to YouTube to do that. Well, I ended up looking at YouTube the next day or two, and all of a sudden, a podcast that Dallas Holm has popped up. I didn't know he was still alive. I didn't know that he had a podcast. That is the cool stuff that YouTube can do. They can do some pretty cool things. So they had seen that I was listening to some of his music, so all of a sudden they show me the podcast that he does. So I started watching that, and I thought, how cool is this? So that was one thing that led to another. I read the book. Well, my sister-in-law died, picked up this book, started reading the book, saw the quote about one of his songs, started listening to his songs, and all of a sudden, YouTube shows me the podcast that he has that I didn't know that he had. How cool is that? Pretty cool. So then, last week, I was working, and I work in a kitchen boutique, bookstore, gift store kind of thing. It's all in one. And we have a thing in the kitchen part of our store. We'll have the little thingy that displays a book. Well, in the kitchen part, the book we usually display is a cookbook. It goes along with the kitchen. So anyway, the book that had been there had sold. And so I had to get another book to put there. So I go into the bookstore, which is around the corner, and I was a big fan of the movie Titanic. And I was looking at all of our cookbooks, and I had to pick one out. And I saw the one for the Titanic. And I thought, okay, I'll put that one out there. So I did. So it's right there on the front table when people come into the store. So they are sure to see it. This woman came in last week, and she was like, she saw the book, and she thought, oh, I love the Titanic. And I said, oh, I know. I said, when the movie was out, I saw it, I don't know how many times. I took everybody to go see it. I loved every minute of it. It was so great. I even had my husband at the time got me a video game where you were on the Titanic and you were trying to find your way out. I am not a video game person, but I was all into that. And I never did get off. I ended up sinking with the ship, but that's beside the point. But anyway, this lady came in and she looked at that cookbook and she said, oh my gosh, there's the neatest book that talks about the Titanic and the people who were on it and how they were related and blah, 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 which I was all over that. So anyway, she told me about this book, Sheltering Angel. Now this book just came. I bought it off of Amazon, and it just came today. So I have not read it yet. I have not read it. But if any of you who are watching this watch me on any regular basis, you know I love books. I get up in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I read for an hour when I first get up. I get my coffee, I go out on the deck, and I read. And then I pray. And so anyway, I just got this book. And I thought, how cool is that? One thing led to another. If I had not put that Titanic cookbook where I did, that woman who came in would not have told me about this book. I wouldn't have known anything about this book. And then the really cool thing is there was another lady that came in the next day, and she was looking at the cookbook, and I told her about this book. And I said, oh yeah, there was a lady that came in yesterday and she told me about this book. So she wrote it down. So she's probably going to read the book too. You see how things happen? They happen in such wonderful ways. You know? I mean, I don't know how many of you are Christians out there, but it does say in the Bible that your steps are ordered by the Lord. And I truly believe that there are things that happen in our lives that end up having something to do with the divine, you know? It happens all the time. And sometimes we recognize it and sometimes we don't, you know? Sometimes we don't see it. But I think that that's what this was. I got led to a podcast. I got led to a book. And it was so surprising. I mean, one, yes, I was familiar with Dallas Holm. Am I familiar with his podcast? No. But I'm looking forward to tuning in and seeing what he has to say. And there's new episodes of his podcast that come out every Wednesday. And today is Wednesday. But, part of this video is I wanted to talk about my sister-in-law, because she truly, truly, I think, besides being a mother, she wanted to be a mother more than anything. Absolutely more than anything. And I have to tell you that her and my brother were married for 10 years before they adopted their first child, which was talked about in this book. And I have to say, he was born a few months, 4 months before my second son. I had 3 sons. I got married a year and a half after I got married. I had 1 son. 2 years later, I had another. 2 years later, I had another. Boom, boom, boom. But it didn't happen that way for my sister-in-law and for my brother. And I have to tell you that when I was pregnant the first time, when I was pregnant the second time, and when I was pregnant the third time, it was hard for me to tell her, because of the yearning and desire that she had to be a mom, and how it came to me so easily. And it came to my sister too. My sister got married, and a year and a half after she got married, she had 1 kid. She ended up having 5. So we were like our mother, fertile myrtle, I guess is what they call it, But that doesn't happen for every couple. It really, truly does not. And that is why adoption is such a wonderful thing. Because there are so many children out there that need adoption. I remember one of the TV stations, I think it was Channel 5 in St. Louis. I remember years ago, there was a young woman, 18 years old, and they had this segment called A Place to Call Home. And this woman was 18 years old, and she was looking to be adopted. And at first, I looked and I thought, well, you're 18 years old. You're grown. It's like I didn't understand what the whole thing was. But then I had this realization. Adoption isn't just when you're a child and you're a minor and you need to be taken care of and you need someone to feed you and clothe you and send you to school. When you're a kid, that is not what this woman wanted. What she wanted was a family. She wanted the family for Christmas get-togethers, Thanksgiving, Easter, all the things where families get together. She just wanted a family. She didn't need their support. She didn't need that. She just wanted to be a part of a family at 18 years old. And it took a minute for me to understand that, because at first I was like, well, you're 18. She just wanted a family that she could live the rest of her life with, because there was something on Facebook And I said this to my son, and I don't think he got it at first. But when you have kids, you will know them more as adults than children. Because they're only children until they're 18. And then the rest of your life and the rest of their life, they're adults. There's only a short time that your kids are literally children. So that's what this woman wanted. She wanted that rest of her life to have a family. She wanted a father to walk her down the aisle when she got married. She wanted siblings. She wanted cousins. She wanted all the things that family gives you. And I mean, this book by my sister-in-law is positively her story, her and my brother's story of how they adopted their first child. And they had 2 other children, and they were children of promise too. They definitely were. And so I just wanted to, I think, give tribute to my sister-in-law for the book she wrote, and she's written other books. They're on Amazon. Debbie Migott, Debbie, DEBBIMIGIT. Her books are on Amazon. She has a fictional series of books that she wrote after this autobiographical one. And so, yeah, check it out. But anyway, I just wanted to give tribute to her, tribute to her dedication to being a mother, how much she wanted to be a mother, and how she became a mother against all odds, because it's hard. It's hard. But whether you have adopted your children or you have given birth naturally to them, they are your kids. They are your kids forever. And so if you have found value in this video, hit like, subscribe, comment. Are any of you adoptive parents? How did that happen? Why did that happen? Who knows? Maybe you've heard of my sister-in-law. I don't know. But anyway, I just want to say that she will be very missed, very loved, and that she was a great writer. Oh my gosh. The way that she could write, the way she could put things into words was beyond anything that I could ever do. She was very, very good at what she did. And the neat thing is, because she wrote these books, her words will live on forever. And I told her daughter that. I said, you can pick this book up and you can read your mother's story. You can read her words, and her words will always be there for you to read. And I think that maybe it might be a little too painful for her right now, but I think that in time, that book will bring comfort to her. I don't think it is right now. I think it's too painful for her to probably read it, but in time it will. It will. And that's why when people die, we don't do anything that is too big of a life change. Can't do it. You just have to sit with the grief and get through it the way that you get through it, and then you decide what to do. So anyway, here's to Debbie. And like I always say, use it up, wear it out, make it do without. Till next time, bye.